out to dinner. And it was a Ponderosa Steakhouse. Remember that? Are those even around anymore? I don't know if they're even around anymore. Where I lived, that was kind of a decent place. That was pretty good. We didn't have a lot of places to go out where I grew up. And I remember I was 14. I didn't realize that usually now when pastors ask me when I go out to lunch, they usually want something. I didn't realize that. I wasn't aware of that. But he, let's go out. Okay, fine. We hung out. We were talking for a while. And, a little while in, he said, you ever thought about maybe sometime down the road being a pastor? I was like, no, absolutely not. I had other things on my mind. I was 14. Lots of other things. And that was definitely not on the radar screen. But he said, well, look, he kind of outlined the process for me. He said, you wouldn't go until you're 21 anyway. That's just kind of the way it works. You got to finish college and it's graduate school. So he said, think about it. Just think about it. I think you've got the gifts for it. I think you should consider it. All right, whatever. I was not really thinking about it. But it was kind of in the back of my head for a while. It just kind of hung out there. And it was 3 years later that I finally got my answer, which was obviously yes. Yes, I'm here today. When I considered the possibility of starting the river, I first heard about it, and then it was 4 years later that I finally knew that this was what God had in mind for me. And maybe you have questions in your life, things that you're wondering about. There are a lot of important decisions to be made. We make them all the time. Should I take this job? Should I move my family? Should I marry this person? Should we have another child? These are all big questions. And we don't always get quick, fast, simple, easy answers. A lot of these questions are complicated. They're difficult, and they take time to answer and time to figure out what God has in mind. There are still questions in my life that I don't have answers to, that I've been waiting sometimes years for. Things that I still haven't figured out. Things that I wonder about. And it's funny because a lot of the times when I get an answer, I end up with more questions. That's just kind of the way it works. We're wrapping up today this series on the big questions. We've been asking a lot of big questions, some tough questions. And we're talking about how to go from here. How do we live with the questions? How do we live our lives knowing that we're not going to have all the answers? How do we be at peace with that and allow God to work through it? That's our topic for today. And to get at that, I want to share with you a question that Jesus asked. And it's one of the most difficult questions, I think, asked in the whole Bible. The mere fact that Jesus asks him, the mere fact that he asks God a question, says more than what the actual question is. So I want to read this for you. And I'm going to read it 3 times. And I want you to realize that as Jesus is saying this, he is on the cross, suffering and dying. Maybe you want to close your eyes. Maybe you want to get comfortable in your chair. I'm going to read this 3 times. Have silence in between. And when you hear the chime, come back to worship. At 3 o'clock, Jesus called out with a loud voice, my God, why have you forsaken me? At about 3 o'clock, Jesus called out with a loud voice, my God, why have you forsaken me? Jesus called out with a loud voice, my God, why have you forsaken me?"